historically accelerates the deployment for customers. Initially, there's blockers, there's issues, there's remediation that needs to happen, and this we've seen has really unlocked a lot of that and allowed us to share best practices across our customers in order to really help them grow. It takes an active deal, and it takes a need for Office Pro Plus and Windows 10 adoption. Next slide, please. So I want to talk about a couple of the changes that we've seen from the previous year to this year. So the big one is that we've changed the program from just being focused on Windows to now being focused on Windows, Office, and EMS. So we've changed the name from Accelerate to Power Device. The number of offers we've consolidated down to 4, and we've created a lot of flexibility within those programs to be able to use them for a variety of cases. I'm taking over from Annie, whom some of you may have met and worked with in the past. As a new owner for the US. We have an alias, which you can see there, and we'll, as Uli mentioned, we'll share these slides. Reach out to the alias if you have any questions about any of the offers, getting your customer nominated, getting into the process and the program, etc. The other thing I want to mention that's a big change from last year is the fact that now there are 2 ways that we can nominate customers. Historically, it's always been through Microsoft and the Microsoft field. But now partners can nominate directly through Fast Track. So once you're in the portal, you can say what offers are available, and this pops up, and you can nominate your customers. Willie, can you go to the next slide? So I mentioned there were 4 offers this year, and these are the 4 offers, and I'll walk through these, and I'll talk about security in a little bit more detail. The first one is the M365 POC. It really demonstrates the value of Windows and Office. There's a number of different labs that it goes through, and it talks about sort of the update cycle that Microsoft is moving towards, rather on a 6-month cycle. The second one is a security POC. It's a 5-day event focused on IT decision makers. It talks a lot about Windows ATP. It talks about identity and access management, information, threat protection. It also does a brief stint on Office 365 ATP as well. We're offering 10,000 for that. The third one is the Enterprise Compatibility Workshop. It's really there to drive remediation for app compat issues. So we run the Windows Upgrade Analytics exercise where we see what issues a customer may be having, and then help them understand what are the changes that are coming with Windows as a service, what does that mean from a change management perspective, and helps reduce a lot of those issues. The fourth one is the pilot program. This is a post-production program helping to deploy 500 seats in a production environment. We have Windows only and Office only options available as well. And we're offering between 30 and 70 depending on which workloads you're implementing. Next slide, please. So this is some of the ways that the customers can be qualified for the different opportunities. There's a set of overall requirements basically saying, look, we're doing this for Windows 10, we're doing this for Office Pro Plus, we're not doing this for Windows Pro. Some of those at that level, we restricted the number of projects for 2 per customer, and we're looking to use the most latest update semi-annual or monthly channel for upgrades. I won't go through in the detail of each one, but generally there's a seat requirement between 1,000 seats and 2,000 seats. There's a caveat with the security POC. We've reduced that to 500 seats, so we can we've brought that to slightly small customers as well. And then there needs to be either Windows opportunity or there needs to be a deployment opportunity associated with the account. Well, we can go to the next slide. So I think we need to click through a little bit more, but because it has a few animations. So in terms of execution, the process is pretty straightforward. We have these 8 steps here. You go through Fast Track to get approval. You work with the account team at Microsoft to get the scope. For public sector customers, we need a notice and consent form. You work with the customer and Microsoft to determine the work scope. The PO is issued. You go and deliver the service. We need a proof of execution from the customer with the PO number on it, and then we process that invoice and you get paid. So this is the process. In the next couple of slides, we have some details around what you need to do for each of these steps. Willie, we can just flip through the next couple of slides just to show that we have them, and we will share these slides. But they just sort of have some of the steps associated with each of these process steps. And let's go one more. So in terms of partner qualifications, this is not restricted to any set of partners. It's open for everyone. We just need a supplier ID with Microsoft, and then depending on which program you're looking to do, there's a set of required competencies as well. You can work with your partner account manager to get, if you have questions about how do you get any of the competencies, how do you get plugged into the program, they can help you with getting those competencies as well. Can you go to the next slide? So in terms of resources, a lot of the content, I'll keep talking. So a lot of the content is on the Connect site. So it's connect.microsoft.com/accelerate. That has all the content for each of the program, has a nomination process. Fast track, you can go ahead and actually nominate through. And then the contact emails, there's a concierge desk that has where we monitor that daily and answer any questions about any of the different questions, programs, eligibility, etc. And we can help take care of that. So what we've seen in this program is a great driver of deployment and consumption for Microsoft technology, and we'd love to see a success this year as well. That's all from my side, Willie. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them now, or we can flip it over to the next presenter.
Yeah, we'll take a pause. There hasn't been any questions that have come in just yet. It looks like there was a little bit of delay between some of the conversation and when the slides did appear. So hopefully that'll be caught in the recording, but I definitely won't be able to verify until after the call. But as questions do come up, please put them in the message box there, and I'll be able to ask them during the breaks.
Good.
All right, so I can jump right in there, Will, if you don't mind. Perfect. Cool. Good morning, good afternoon, evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the call. My name is Jess Chiarella. I'm the U.S. Product Marketing Manager for Windows and Devices focused on the SMC segment. I've been with Microsoft for about 5 years now, but just about 4 months in this new position and a new segment as well. So I'm really looking forward to meeting and working with you all. Please reach out and introduce yourself. Building off of those funding resources that Hassan just presented on, I'm really excited to share with you a recent sales play that we just launched, mostly in collaboration with the U.S. Office M&O team. So as Willie was talking about earlier, we're really thinking about this modern workplace vision and how we go to market with the joint collaborative conversation. So hoping that this helps drive those conversations with your customers. Will, you can jump to the next slide there, but just to give some context, this SMC Security sales play was built, like I said, to help you drive Microsoft 365 security messaging and help you move those opportunities forward with SMC customers specifically. You can think of the goal really is to help you determine when and how to leverage the different resources available to you as we kind of think through what stage of the sales play are you at? Is this an early conversation, or are you really trying to help progress an opportunity, or is it really close to close? You just need that cherry on top of the deal to really sweeten it and seal the deal. So we know there's a lot of resources out there. You get lots of emails every day. And again, my goal for this is to help you think, okay, if I have a customer within this small, medium, and corporate market, what do we need to be able to offer to them based on the conversations I'm having, and again, based on where I'm at in the sales cycle. So we've called out 3 key resources here, and again, you can kind of see it's really to help you validate or discover, validate, and close what we're aiming for is this security E5 opportunity around Microsoft 365. So I'm just going to move from left to right over here. So starting with that discovery phase, or helping your customer discover the opportunity itself, we're offering a free cybersecurity health check, which you can send to your customers. This is a self-service questionnaire, and it generates a security score for your customers and you to see after they go through this questionnaire. So it's pretty quick, pretty straightforward, but it's again something that you can send out an email, link it in there. We recommend you can even leverage Point Drive to send it that way, really to get them start thinking about how secure is my environment. This is actually followed by a 1-hour consultation to go deeper into the security check itself. It is driven by N3, but you'll be invited to join that call, as well as the account manager will be invited to join that call, so that you're fully aligned to those next steps with the customer. So again, if they're seeing that they're at 30% secure, it's a really great way to hop in, go a little bit deeper, and then move over to that next step and say, okay, well, why don't we go in? I can do a workshop, which is where we go into step 2 here. This is where you can kind of validate and progress the opportunity. We have a 2-day Microsoft 365 E5 workshop. All you need to do is submit a request. I've linked a form in here, so it'll be really easy to go ahead and do that. And we'll direct you to the appropriate funding bucket to receive $5K and perform the workshop. Again, it's really straightforward. The link will be right in there for you, but if you have any issues, you can just reach out to me and I'm happy to help point you in the right direction. The goal of this is to keep it really simple, though. So step 3 then, again, if you've already talked to them, security is top of mind, you know that there's an opportunity here, but they have more questions, they need more help, and they really want more of that hands-on experience, that's where we're offering a proof of concept. So again, the offer's been validated. You really want to go in to that deeper level. I have 2 opportunities here. Again, there's a lot of links, but it's mostly just so you understand what the different offers are for a POC. The biggest thing to know is they're both for Microsoft 365. We just understand that sometimes the conversation, the customer is going to be pretty focused on evaluating Windows 10 E5 features or Office 365 E5, and you're driving the Microsoft 365 conversation around maybe that hero product for them, given the scenario they're in. So there are 2 different offerings, but it will lead you towards the same Microsoft 365 POC opportunity. So again, I want to encourage you all to leverage all of these resources. That being said, I do understand, and I hope that many of you are already deep into security conversations with your customers already. So maybe not all of them are applicable now, but leverage those sales cycles, align the resources accordingly, and let's use these resources. I'd love to see us go through all of them by the end of the fiscal years or end of the calendar year, so we can keep this going more in the next half of the year. I'm looking at H2. Well, if you jump to the next slide, I do have some frequently asked questions here. I think we're okay on time, so I'll just go through them quickly, but I think I've covered most of this. I have an E5 opportunity at 40% in the sales stage. I don't feel the cybersecurity health check is appropriate. That's totally fine. Again, you're not required to leverage all these. The account teams are not required to leverage all these. We just want you to know that we're, in a best case scenario, from left to right, start to finish with an opportunity. Do I have to work with the N3 for the 1-hour consultation? Again, that's what that cybersecurity health check. Like I said, you do. It is their IP, but they have been very open to the fact that they will be looping in the account team. Account teams can loop in their partners. We encourage you to get on that call with them. And that way, when you go into the 2-day workshop, or again, that 5-day, the POC down the road, you've been in the conversation from the very beginning. A couple of things I might just jump to. Do you need an MSX ID? So yes, this is, or no, you don't for the 1-hour consultation, but you do need it to get that 2-day workshop or POC funding. That's again, just so we can make sure that this opportunity is tracking through the sales cycle. My customer is not comfortable doing a self-assessment. What resources are available with me to communicate the process? We do have a customer-facing document outlining what the process looks like. Again, it's for the self-assessment itself. It is pretty straightforward. I don't think that should come up too often, but if you need it, feel free to reach out to me and I can provide that to you. Am I limited to a list of specific partners? This is very important for you guys. No, you're not limited at all. There was some miscommunication. I've gotten some questions from partners asking if they are able to leverage this 2-day workshop offering. You absolutely are. We've opened it up to everyone. So again, please just go through that link on there. It sends you to an email, which will direct you directly to the next steps. I think that's all, Willie, if you jump to the next slide.
Okay. Well, since this is a Q&A period,
sure,
maybe I could
perfect,
ask a couple questions that came in.
Please do.
The first one that came in was, do any of these funding opportunities apply to under 100 users?
Under 100 users. So we do for the POC. So first step, maybe if you go back to the last slide, it's easier if I show the picture. But the cybersecurity health check does not matter what the customer size is. That is open to anyone and everyone. So again, that self-assessment and the 1-hour consultation. There's no size on that. For the POC, there are a couple criterias depending on the POC that you have. For the Windows 10 more focused POC opportunity, as Hassan said, that's the one with 500 seat as the minimum. The Office one is a bit lower. I'd have to validate exactly what the count is. I don't think 100 seat, but I can validate that one for you. And the 2-day assessment as well. That one is we just are looking for an opportunity of 100K or above. So it is a little bit higher. I don't know if that'd meet that threshold, but I recommend using the health check for those smaller customers.
Okay, thank you. And then one last one. Does the Microsoft 365 E5 have to be net new, or can it be on an existing subscription?
It can be on an existing subscription. Good question.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, guys. And again, reach out if you have any questions along the way. There's some more resources here. This will all go through to you, so leverage them all, please. Thanks.
All right. Well, I will take over from here. Hello, everyone. My name is Lillian Ng. I am also a product marketing manager on the Windows and Devices marketing team. I'm specifically focused on enterprise commercial customers. So diving deeper, if you think about a funnel from Hassan to Jess to myself, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of our business value programs, specifically our CIE, and what we are piloting around a security-specific CIE from there. So Willie, if you can move on to the next slide. So most of you, I believe, should be familiar with what a customer immersion experience is. It's definitely a way for folks to get hands-on with the technology and really experience it. It's one thing to see it in slides, and it's another thing to actually really get an understanding of it. So as you may know, that there are different flavors of CIEs that currently exist today. There's commercial, there's education that's K through 12, there's higher ed, government, and healthcare. I think there's also a dynamics flavor and so on and so forth. So we just wanted to give you a quick early preview of something that we've been working on, which is a security-specific CIE. We're currently piloting it with a handful of virtual events and maybe 1 or 2 in-person events that we're doing. So once we get everything packaged up with our learnings, we'll definitely be able to share that with you. But to give you some early insight into what we're looking at doing here, and those of you who have a security practice that you want to use and leverage the CIE tenant for, this would be a good opportunity to think about how you might want to leverage it. And the way that I kind of think about positioning this with all the other offerings that we have is, if you look at the CIE, it's more of a snackable experience. It's about a 3-hour half-day type experience that you can have with a customer, whereas the commitment that you would have to have for a POC or an assessment would be 2 to 5 days. So this is definitely a great way to get customers interested as a next step after you've done some value discovery with them, get them hands-on with this, and then eventually funnel them into an assessment or a POC. So this is a great intermediate step that you might have from here. Again, there's different versions. You can do a virtual or a full or a mini one for the number of hours that you want to do. It really depends on the customer. So Willie, if you would move on to the next slide from here. All right, so just a quick preview of what happens during a security-specific CIE. It builds on what the productivity CIE has normally done in terms of the interactivity in the email, but really who we're going to be targeting here is less of the end user that you would normally see in a traditional CIE, and more of a security analyst or a IT professional who wants to get a little bit more hands-on into what the security aspects really look like when you talk about it. So guided by a facilitator, you want to make sure that you're pretty comfortable talking about some of these security aspects and have your practice up and ready to go. But we'll first talk about malware through email or through a link. That's where most of the security risks come from, actually, and what that actually looks like. So if you do get malware from somebody in the email, you actually have the participants assigned to different personas. They'll be sending emails to each other that just happen to have some malware in it, and they see that the link is stripped, or the attachment has been removed and said that there's some malware on here. So it gives them at least okay, so this is what actually my end users end up seeing. It then moves on into passwords and some of the different stories around why passwords are not necessarily the most secure things in the world, and people's habits with passwords. And then it can go into how we move on to Hello with that, what the settings look like, the accounts, some of the options that they can do, and then apologies for the typo on that. Looking at some of the secure score that you have through Office 365. So what items within your environment that you have turned on, and what that score really looks like within your environment, and different suggestions of what you can turn on and off to go through and increase your secure score from there. So it's a great chance to have a discussion with your customers in terms of how much security they want to have, with the balance of how much end user friendliness really makes sense there from a balance. You then move on to the information protection section, where you talk about data loss prevention and Azure information protection. So you do an example of emailing an Excel file that may have credit card information in there, or so on and so forth. And then you can actually dive into some of the configuration settings and show the security analysts and the IT administrators what some of those settings may be from there. Azure Information Protection, you can kind of look at some of the sensitivity ribbons that are available now in Office, of something that's highly confidential, or something that only you can see within your own kind of corporate environment, and what those settings look like as well. The final area that you move on to is around device protection, looking at Windows Defender Security Center, kind of exploring what all of that stuff looks like in there, Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, and what happens when people are bringing their own devices in, or if they're leaving, and if it's a personal/corporate device, what do some of those remote wipe situations look for? So again, as far as the security CIE is concerned, it's definitely a little bit more technical than your typical CIE, but it gives your IT decision makers and your security analysts a little more hands-on experience in a less time commitment kind of area to see what the actual technology looks like when we talk about some of the security concerns that customers may be facing from here. So Willie, if you move on to the next slide. And again, the 14,429 CIE sessions in 2016 were the many different flavors of CIEs that we have, not necessarily security ones, but the reason why we see that this works is it gives people an opportunity to go and explore the M365 environment in kind of a fun little scenario, and actually play a role outside of what their normal job is, and see what their end users are seeing, and seeing just how the technology actually comes to life, and so they can try before they buy in a nice area. And they can either come in and have an in-depth discussion, specifically bring in their entire security team and really get deep with you guys in terms of what their concerns are, or they can go to a virtual option where it may be a one-to-many type activity where maybe they don't get as deep into their own specific security concerns, but they can talk about more general things that they're seeing across kind of industry and so on. So Willie, if you can move on to the next slide. So getting the customers to the CIE, you definitely want to look for decision makers who are influencing around their digital transformation stories, around security in particular for this one, and using kind of the CIE tenet and materials that Microsoft is putting together to promote it. We do have some email templates that we will have available. And that being said, we still are piloting the security-specific CIE, so once we have it a little bit more wrapped up with some recommendations that we would like you to have, some additional training that we have, we'll make sure to get that out to Willie and team to get out to you guys if you have a specific interest in delivering this. And again, Willie, if you want to move to the next slide. Customers at the end of the day can get some unique insights. It's a great conversation starter for folks as well, in terms of moving it beyond, a PowerPoint presentation or a deck, and diving into their specific problems. And again, since this is a half day or maybe a full day from here, you're not going to get the full security, like let's figure out, how do we actually go through and improve their security posture, but this will give them a taste for it so that they can then go in and further go down to a security proof of concept or an assessment. That's a 2 or 5 day one. Or if they wanted to leverage our MTCs and go in for a security and day workshop, it's a great way to kind of funnel them into into other deeper security services that you may be offering from here. So Willie, if you want to move on to the next slide here. Again, for those of you who have a CIE practice already or interested in getting one, you can get a head start on drumbeat.office.com and take advantage of the resources that we have around CIE in particular. The security CIE is still, again, in pilot phase, so there's not going to be as much material necessarily in here, but at least, get you going, get you familiar with what the CIE tenant is. Will be a great first step for you. And then once we have security specific content ready for you guys, it's already existing there within the CIE tenant itself. You just have to kind of pull it together a little bit. So if you do want to self-explore, you're more than welcome to do that. But again, once we have the pilot wrapped up, we'll be sure to share those out from you. But if you do want to get a head start, drumbeat.office.com is a great place to go to start understanding what the CIE offering in the tenant is from there. And then the last slide that I have here is just, if you move on there, get started with it, contact your Microsoft account team about CIEs in general to get you set up on that. And then, of course, visiting transform.office.com to go ahead and take a look at some of the resources there. So that was a really quick tour of the Security CIE. That is all that I have today. Let me know if there's any questions.
Thank you, Lillian, Jess, and Hassan. If there's any questions, we can stay online. I don't see any right now, but if you do have some questions, go ahead and submit them. We'll stay online for another few minutes. Just in case this was cut off at the beginning, I do want to make sure that you're aware of Modern Workplace resources that the OCP Modern Workplace team is managing. You can find upcoming partner training at aka.ms/hotsheetnews. This is the training that will be available whether it's webinar or in person for the next couple months, and this covers all of the solution areas that the One Communications partner organization will be focused on. So that's Modern Workplace, that's business applications, data and AI, apps and infrastructure, as well as open source. Specific to Modern Workplace, the Yammer community, aka.ms/MW partner community, will have the presentation uploaded there, and we'll have the call recording uploaded there. May take a couple days to get the call recording, but I'll make sure the PowerPoint is actually there right after the call. Also specific to Modern Workplace, we're going to have community calls, 3 community calls per month, except for the last quarter of the month. So we'll continue to have a call for Office or productivity, Office 365 mainly, collaboration as well as Cloud Voice. We'll have a call for security, which is centered around EMS, and then also a call for Windows and devices. The third call of every quarter will be a combined call where we'll go over product updates and roadmaps. And lastly, the US Partner Community blog, aka.ms/US blog. This will take you to all the blogs that the One Communication Partner organization is putting together, not just for Modern Workplace, but again, for all those solution areas. And yes, question that just came in. Yes, I'll share the deck to our Yammer community, aka.ms Modern Workplace Partner or MW Partner Community. So again, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining right before the Thanksgiving holiday. I hope everyone has a great holiday, and everyone's able to get that Xbox One X during that Black Friday sale. All right. Thanks for your time. I'll go ahead and stop the call now.